A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Welcome to Motivation Monday on Jam 316. We're live on Family TV and Family Radio 316 as well. Karibuni sana. Now, glossophobia. Have you ever heard of that word? Is it something you suffer from? It's not a virus. It's something that a lot of people can identify with. It's basically the phobia of public speaking. Fear of public speaking. Public speaking looks easy when somebody else is doing it until you have to step up on stage and begin to speak. It's almost like your mind disconnects from your mouth. You know what you want to say, but it's not coming out the way you're hearing it in your mind. Some people, they just freeze. In fact, I'm asking this question. I was asking this question on my radio show earlier on. What is it about public speaking that really scares you? And very interesting comments coming through. There's one here from Dave Ondieki. Dave Ondieki says, wow, I just begin to sweat. And I'm sweating everywhere. And I can't even concentrate. That is what happens to him when he gets into a space where he has to do public speaking. D from Kiambu says, I love huge crowds, but I get butterflies in my stomach before addressing a small group of people where the pair of eyes are countable, like 7 to 10 people. I find that very interesting, that you're cool with crowds, but when it comes down to, when you narrow the numbers, you become nervous. The art of public speaking is what we are going to be looking at today, and I'm sure that by the time we are done with the show this morning, you'll have some tips to get you going in terms of being a better public speaker. So I will be introducing to you, I have two guests, I will be introducing them to you shortly, but before then, would like to hear from you. What is it about public speaking that really scares you? You'll start giving excuses like Moses. You know I am a stammerer. No. What is it about public speaking that really, really scares you? SMS is coming in on 20316. WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Motivation Monday. Today we're talking about the art of public speaking, and I'm just smiling because of some of the comments that are coming through asking the question, what is it about public speaking that really, really scares you or makes you afraid? And seems like a lot of us are self-conscious. We really are concerned about what people will think about us or whether what we say will come out well. Well, we'll help you with that. In studio with us today via Zoom, I have the president of Kisumu Toastmasters Club, Edwin Okech. Edwin, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm very fine. Good to have you on board today. Karibu sana. I also have Emily Owiti, who is the lead consultant at Tremella Consultants. This one deals with brand image and managing projects. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and good morning.
It's good to have you. Karibu sana. Now, I'm just wondering, why is it, even as we get into this discussion, why is it that a lot of people are afraid of public speaking? Maybe you can take that question, Bwana Okech. Why are so many people afraid of public speaking?
As you mentioned previously in your opening remarks, people are so much self-conscious in what they want to say. They're afraid of what people will judge them about. They're afraid that what they say might offend or might not come out as well as they would wish. So then that makes their feet a little bit jelly. It makes somebody forget about what the content that somebody had. So yes, public speaking is not one of the easiest things for the general public.
Okay. Emily, what do you think?
Thank you very much. And like Edwin said, it's about impressions. We always want to leave great impressions.
Yes.
So when you stand up to speak to people, you're not quite sure what they're going to do, especially if it's a crowd that you're not familiar with. So indeed, we wonder, what are people going to think about us? Are we going to leave the best impression that we would like to leave? And that gives people a lot of problems. The other thing is, if you're not sure of the message, if you're not having good content. So those are some of the reasons why people get scared, especially with crowds that they're not familiar with.
Okay. In this day and age, is public speaking a necessary life skill that all of us need to have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe so. Because in all areas you're speaking in public, though the definition of public might be a little bit different, but even if you consider a family setup, You are in public. Outside the nuclear family, for example, when you are having an extended family, you are having a family reunion, you are having, say, a funeral, you are having, a wedding. That's a public place. So if you ask, is public speaking essential in this life and age? I want to believe absolutely. All of us need to develop a little bit of public speaking skills so that to be able to communicate effectively. Because again, communication involves speaking. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, you don't communicate to yourself. You communicate with other people. And that means speaking to other people. So yes, it is very essential that each and all of us develop public speaking skills.
Okay. Emily, why then is it that this is not something, I would have thought that if this is something that is very essential, that it is a life skill that all of us need, because we are interactive creatures. Why isn't it something that is taught from an earlier level, even in our schools? This seems like it's a course people take once they've finished school, they've finished college, maybe because their job entails for them to address people, then they think of taking a public speaking course. Why isn't it that it's not taught in our schools and in our colleges?
Actually, public speaking is taught. It is the impression that we have about it. A lot of people think public speaking is something huge, something hidden somewhere that you really have to go and learn.
Yeah.
But indeed, when you go to basic elementary school, you engage people. When you're in class and the teacher asks a question and you respond, you're speaking in public. We just don't take it seriously from the beginning, the early ages of education. Like Okech said, anytime you're not engaging yourself, anytime you're engaging with more than two people and you're outside, you're actually in public and you're speaking with other people. So it is about our mentality. People never take it seriously that it's really something that you can do for a living and earn money out of it.
Yeah.
In our workplace, public speaking is very essential. You go to meetings sometimes and you're doing a presentation. You're speaking in public, even if it's just to 5 people. So we need to take it more seriously, knowing that later on in life, it becomes very essential. Whether in your little chamas or whether you're going out to meet a crowd, at funerals, anywhere, you could be called upon to even deliver an impromptu speech.
Yeah.
That's where you're not prepared and you're just told, could you give us a word? Could you give us a vote of thanks? And then you don't know how to start. Yeah. So we need to inculcate it from the beginning, from the early stages, allow our children to interact, to engage. So I think we need to start it right from the beginning and not probably take it that seriously. And when I say take it seriously, I mean you don't have to, first of all, sit in class to be taught. They're inherent talent, right?
Yes.
The people who are born natural orators. But also those who may think they're not naturally or good orators, they have the skill. It's latent. It just needs to be nurtured a little bit.
Okay.
So that's when now you enroll formally in school, but you probably now take a skill. Thank you.
I'm just wondering whether also the whole issue of upbringing and the family setup has anything to do with it. And the reason I'm asking that is because I come from a large family and a loud family. My family is very loud. Everybody in my family always has something to say. And sometimes when we get together for a family gathering, you may think we are fighting, but we are just loud. In fact, I usually tell people I'm the quietest in our family, yet I'm the one on radio and TV every day. So you can imagine how loud all those other people are. So I'm just wondering, could family also have anything to do with it, Edwin, and how you are brought up?
To a small extent, because then you don't find a direct correlation between somebody who is loud to use your words and somebody who is a very good public speaker. You could find people who are very self-centered, or not really self-centered, people who are very quiet in nature. People who are most of the time loners, but then become very good public speakers. So yes, there's a small connection, but it is not like a direct cause and effect thing. So that when you are in a loud family, for example, then you'd come out to be a good public speaker. Again, what matters in family setup is when parents raise their children, to be confident in themselves. You find a good public speaker is one that is very confident, either about himself, about the content of the message, or very confident with the audience and sometimes with the public. So yes, when you train your children to be able to express themselves confidently, then yes, that might add up to a little bit of being a good and effective public speaker. But there is no direct relationship between somebody who is an outgoing person with somebody who is a good public speaker. Usually, these are things that you can grow, you can learn them, you can improve as you continue.
Okay. What about self image, Emily? Because you are an image consultant. Does self-image, how I look or how I perceive myself to look, have any effect on my public speaking skills?
Indeed, it does. Actually, what is more important is how you perceive yourself.
Okay.
Because how people perceive you is something else, and you really have no control about how they think about you. If you feel you're loud, then you believe you're loud.
Yes.
If you feel you're confident, because no one is going to instill that confidence in you, it comes from right inside you. So yes, how you perceive yourself has a lot to do with how you present or deliver a speech in public.
Okay. Because
you could have a prepared speech, you could have everything else done and ready, but the moment you feel not confident, you don't feel self-assured, then yes, you stand in front of public and your knees start knocking. So you need to have that self-confidence. And talking about people who are loud, yes, the voice helps them. They have the confidence. And I've seen people who have the confidence, even if the content is not there, they're out there and they speak.
Yes.
So that is very important. Go out, speak. You can work on the content. You can work on how the delivery is done, like President Edwin Okech said. All these things can be nurtured, but the confidence, you need to be able to find it deep down in yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's talk a bit.
And to add up to a little bit of what Emily is talking about. Henry Ford said that when you believe that you can, and if you believe you cannot, in both instances, you are right.
Yes.
So yes, the first part in public speaking is to believe that you can do it. The moment you believe that you are unable to do it, then that becomes a problem in itself. So yes, self-image improves the quality of public speaking that you'll be able to do.
Let's talk a bit about some of the common mistakes that people make when they're doing a presentation or speaking in public. I don't know about you, Edwin, but sometimes I cringe when I see some people speaking on TV and I'm thinking, don't say it that way. There's a better way to say it. Or why are you standing like that? I don't know if you go through those motions. So maybe you can answer that and also tell us, what are some of those common mistakes that people make when they're speaking in public?
Some of the common mistakes people make while they're speaking in public is one of them is to apologize, for example. You feel that what you have said is not right, and then you tell the public, "I'm sorry, I need to get this a little better." That's not good. The second one is being too self-conscious.
What do you mean by that?
You're afraid of what people will judge you. You're afraid that people will judge you. You're afraid that maybe your voice is not well projected. You're afraid that maybe you are going to make a mistake. And in most instances, the speaker is the person who has the message. Unless, of course, you are speaking to a class. When you are a teacher and your class is full of professors, for example. So everybody's an expert in in that field.
Yes.
Then of course, there's need to really get to know your content very well. But in most times, it is the person making the presentation or the speaker in this matter who has the content.
Yes.
Right? I think what I'd like to add. Sorry.
Yes. So when you know you're the person with the content, there's no need to apologize, because in the first instance, nobody knows what you're going to talk about.
Exactly.
Say, for example, you are asked to raise a toast at a wedding. It is only you who knows what you want to say. So people get self-conscious about that. And that those are the two major mistakes that I think people make generally in public speaking.
I'm just wondering.
They become too self-conscious. Yes.
I'm just wondering, when you become too self-conscious, does it also make you more nervous?
Yes, it does. It does. Because then you concentrate more on what you would call the mistakes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not mistakes as such, but you consider them as mistakes, and therefore they influence your delivery.
Emily, you wanted to add something?
Yes, thank you very much. And the one thing that really I don't like about people, especially when you speak for a very long time and you're speaking to yourself, and you're speaking to yourself, you forget about the audience. You have this long speech, but all along you're walking by yourself, not really taking care of your audience, especially if it's a forum where you can see people. Even when you cannot, pause so that you listen to what they're saying, so that you listen to their feedback, because communication is not communication when there is no feedback. You can't say something and assume that you're understood until you get the feedback.
Yes.
So people who speak continuously and leave the audience, and they believe they've delivered a very beautiful message, but the audience is left behind. They have not communicated. I think that's the point I wanted to.
Okay. I want to rope you in to become part of this conversation by asking questions. 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. It's all about the art of public speaking. What are some questions you have concerning public speaking? I have a comment here that from Paris in Kabeta. You see, that's a good topic there. It's encouraging to hear you say you were shy at some point. Shows signs of hope for some of us. Yes, indeed. I like what Emily said. This thing can be nurtured. You can nurture it. You can become great at it. You can think you are the most. I remember once TD Jakes sharing about how he used to stammer when he would go and preach. Yeah, the one and only TD Jakes we look at today and we think, where do you get your words from? Do you recite all these things? He used to stammer and sweat and could not speak a word, but look at him today. There's hope. Motivation Monday, the art of public speaking. Inviting your questions on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Two amazing guests with us in studio who have a passion for public speaking. I have Emily Owiti, who is an image consultant, and also Edwin Okech. Edwin Okech is the president, Kisumu Toastmasters Club. In case you don't know what Toastmasters is, Toastmasters, wacha kwanza Edwin atuambie. Edwin.
Yes.
Yes. Toastmasters. What is Toastmasters all about?
Toastmasters International was founded in 1924 by some gentleman known Ralph Smedley. Ralph Smedley at that time had students under his charge. And he noticed that the young men and women that were with him were unable to raise a toast, hence the name Toastmasters.
Okay.
Either to raise a toast when there were guests, either to raise a toast in family meetings, either to raise a toast in public gatherings. Therefore, he took the interest to be able to train these young men and women on how to be better public speakers.
Okay.
Toastmasters has over 358,000 members, spread over 16,400 clubs across the globe. Kisumu Toastmasters Club is part of this international organization.
Okay.
It's a non-profit organization that is aimed towards making people have good public speaking skills. We train on leadership. We train on, just being confident in expressing and communication. Because then when you are doing public speaking, it means you have content and you have a message that you want to pass through. So Toastmasters helps us to be able to be effective public speakers, effective communicators, and also effective people who are able to give feedback.
Okay.
Yes.
I have some questions coming through. This one is coming in from Kathy. Kathy says, I speak very softly, and many times when I speak, someone will tell me to speak louder. What can I do to improve on that?
Thank you very much. I think what Kathy should do, if she's a soft speaker, it doesn't mean she cannot deliver a good speech. She just needs to work on her tone of variation. Stress where she needs to stress, try to be fast when she needs to be fast, and improve on the pitch So if she works on the tonal variation, she will not seem flat. And I don't think they'll keep on telling her every time to speak louder, because if you're soft-spoken, you probably are naturally soft-spoken, and that might not change. However, when you vary your tone, then you'll not seem like you're always soft.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question comes in regards to organizing the content. This individual says, how do I better organize my content? Because I always find myself all over the place. I've said a lot, but I've really said nothing.
Now, in Toastmasters International, actually, one of the major things that we do is speak, and speak, because then practice, and practice is what makes it permanent. We say not practicing makes it permanent. So when you practice and practice and practice, then you are able to deliver it. Now, a good speech is organized in three major parts. The first part is the introduction, where you introduce either your topic or your content to your audience. The second part is now the body, now where you're discussing the subject of your presentation. And then you have a conclusion. So those are the three major parts you have in a good speech. There must be an introduction, then there must be the body of your speech, and then the conclusion. So much like just writing a letter. When you're writing a letter either to your boss or to your girlfriend or something like that, you first introduce your topic. You let them know what you want to talk about. Then you talk about your content. You talk about your message. Then at the end of that, it can either be a call to action or a general conclusion to your speech. So once you are able to master the way of organizing a speech, then you want to be able to, talk with no or zero content.
Okay.
And this is what we learn every day in Kisumu Toastmasters meetings. We have people speaking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what about engaging your audience? I find there are some speakers who are very lively. They are constantly engaging the audience, and others don't know how to engage the audience. So as a public speaker, what are some tips you can give me that can help me pull the audience into the conversation so that they're part of what I'm talking about?
I believe
you want to take that?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
And probably also just to add on to what you have talked about regarding the speech content and the structure.
Yeah.
Have a powerful introduction that draws attention to your speech, and then have your body organized and let it flow. And then finally, have also a very powerful conclusion so that people have a message. Now, going back to the question about how to engage the audience. If you're talking about, if you're discussing an area, make sure you try to understand the audience before you even deliver your speech.
Okay.
There's the preparation that you do way before you go ahead and deliver that speech. Who are you speaking to? So that you give relevant examples that the audience can relate with. Because if you're speaking to an audience that is at another level, and you're speaking about things that are not relevant to them, or you're giving examples that are just way out of this world for them, then they will not engage. They'll switch off. Ask questions, allow them to give answers. That way they'll not sleep. I'll give you an example. If you're in a class and the teacher keeps asking questions and pointing at people randomly, then you're likely to be alert because you don't know when the teacher will ask you to respond. So when you engage people and ask them questions, then they tend to be alert and ask relevant questions. And also avoid, when you're asking the questions, don't allow just a little or a small part of the audience to be dominating the discussion. Allow everybody to be part of that discussion, so that you only don't have a few people. Yes.
You talked about a captivating introduction. How do I do that? How do I... What are there some ingredients that would help me know that if I have this and this in my introduction, then it could be a captivating introduction?
Yes, indeed. One way is to have a quote. Quote a powerful speaker before. Quote Obama if you want to.
Yes.
Quote Mahatma Gandhi if you want to. have a powerful quote that is relevant to your subject. The second one is to ask questions.
Okay.
Ask your audience a question. The question might be related to your audience or to your subject, or the question could be generic. So when you ask questions at the beginning of your speech, or when you quote somebody, then you draw the audience towards you. Then one other aspect of it is to create pauses that are well designed. Like you have a good question or a very valid point.
Yeah.
Then you pause. You let it sync with the audience. If you're in public and you have a stage, for example, make good use of your space. And the last one is look at your audience. Look at somebody on your right if you're at a stage.
Yeah.
Then when you're moving to the next point, look at somebody behind the stage. Then continuously shift your eyes. You look at your audience to gauge their response. So when you practice these skills, then you'll be able to captivate your audience and engage with them.
Okay. Are stories a powerful tool that somebody can use to engage the audience? I find that, you have speakers who captivate you with a story and others are simply just giving you facts. So are stories a good tool to use?
Yes, indeed. Stories are very good tools to use. And as a Toastmaster, I'm also a Toastmaster. So as a Toastmaster, we encourage the use of stories, personal stories. People relate with these stories.
Yes.
If they haven't gone through what you're going through, probably they will at some point. So yes, you can have your facts, but find a nice story as an anecdote within your speech or within whatever you're delivering, so that people can pay more attention. People tend to like listening more to things that they believe are real. I could tell you about facts and quote people, but they might to someone else seem far-fetched. But if I tell you a story and you believe it's something that I have gone through, it's more captivating. So yes, sharing your experience really works when you're delivering a speech. And while you're at it, on the intro, you could also pose rhetorical questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Those you don't require answers for, but you just pose the question and look at the audience, look at their reaction. You're also getting the feedback as you pose and look at their reaction. And then you can proceed on. As they're still digesting and thinking about that thought or the question, then you take them now through your body or the content of your speech.
Okay. So, supposing there's this individual, they have to make a speech. Maybe it's the company meeting or maybe it's in church. They're being given an opportunity to speak before the congregation for the very first time and they're nervous about it. Walk me through it. How would you help such an individual? What are some key pointers you can give them to put their heart at ease and to help them deliver better what they have prepared to say to the audience?
There are two types of public speaking.
Yeah.
One is the prepared speech, where you sit down and prepare your speech well in advance. For this type of speaker, the best way to deliver an effective speech is, number one, after you have prepared your speech, is to practice your speech. Practice it, memorize it, but don't cram it.
What's the difference between
number two?
What's the difference between memorizing it and not cramming? As we have been taught to cram.
No. If you cram, then when you forget a point, then you'll begin to panic. When you memorize, it means that you understand your subject. You know what your introduction is, the general points in your introduction.
Yes.
You know the general points in your subject, in your content now, or the body of your speech. And then you know the general points at the end of your speech.
Okay.
So yes, when you are doing a prepared speech, you need to practice. Sometimes even practicing in front of the mirror, speaking to yourself. Number two, we have talked about this, know your audience. Who are you talking to? Number three is know your subject. In Toastmasters, when the first speech that you make in Toastmasters is talking about yourself. We call it an icebreaker.
Yeah.
You introduce yourself to the club. So then you talk about yourself, because the concept is when you are confident about yourself, then you'll be able to master your content and be able to make a very good delivery. And then number 4 is master your presentation. Know it very well. Number 5, I already spoke about, never apologize for any missed point of your presentation or any missed bite of your presentation. Then visualize yourself making a great presentation. Somebody once said that a great way to find success is to visualize it. Because again, things are created twice. You first create a good speech in your mind, within yourself, before you are able to deliver it. So when you are able to visualize yourself making a great presentation, chances are that you are going to make a great presentation in front of your congregation or in front of your church.
Okay.
Just to add.
Yes, Emily.
Sorry. I just wanted to add on to what Edwin has said, that there are 2 types of speeches. There's the one that you prepare and deliver, and there's what we call in Toastmasters impromptu or table topic speaking, which is impromptu speaking. People think you don't need to prepare for impromptu speaking. In Toastmasters, we even have a contest for table topics, where you get a question and you're told to think fast and speak on your feet. So how you do this is always have general quotes. These quotes that you understand that are applicable, inspirational quotes that you can always use to connect with your audience. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Giving you one more opportunity to ask questions. We have about 19 more minutes before we conclude this interview. Remember, it's the art of public speaking. If you have any questions in relation to public speaking, SMS line is 20316. WhatsApp is 0786 316 316. Interesting comments coming through on my social media feed on some of the reasons people are afraid of public speaking. I'll share a few with you in the next short while. James Okumu on Motivation Monday. Question today is, what is it about public speaking that really terrifies you? Some of the comments coming through on our social media feed. Marianne says, I just fear crowds. When I see crowds, I just go into panic mode. Candy says, I'm afraid of being stared at. Those are too many eyes to be looking at one person. It makes me so self-conscious. My good friend Vito Odhiambo says the same thing. Macho ya wapenzi watazamaji. Some of them have got very sharp eyes. But then this one from my friend Danko, this one is the one that really cracked me up. Danko is telling me every time I stand in front of people, I get this feeling that my zipper is undone. And I keep making attempts to check the same, and that distracts me from the flow of my presentation. Danko, you need help. You need help. While Elvis Ongeti says, my fear is that the earth will open up and swallow me. I'm so afraid of that. Well, don't worry. We are giving you some tips to help you. In studio with us today via Zoom, I have the Kisumu Toastmasters Club President, Edwin Okech, and also I have Emily Owiti, who is the lead consultant at Tremella Consults, an organization that enhances brand image and manages projects. What do you think about some of the comments that people are giving about their fears? Edwin?
Okumo, it's common knowledge. A study that was carried out some time back in America for students at the Stanford University found that 85% of the people are actually nervous about public speaking. So those comments, it's normal to feel anxious.
Okay.
And again, what stands between us and good public speaking, and in this case, I'm referring to spontaneous or impromptu speaking, is ourselves. Again, we become too self-conscious. So what stands on our way is actually ourselves. There's nothing that would prevent you from delivering a good speech or delivering a good toast, for that matter.
I'm just wondering, in radio, one of the very first things somebody's taught as a radio presenter is that you're always speaking to one person. I mean, that is drummed into us. We are told if you need to take a picture of one person in the studio, put it in front of you and talk to them, because radio is personal. I'm wondering, when it comes to public speaking, does the same apply? Do I find one person in the congregation that I talk to? How does that flow? Emily?
There are indeed instances where it's important to find a person or find a spot, especially for those who said, when I stand up to speak, I feel like everybody's looking at me, or, my zipper is open. That to focus on for just a few minutes, because usually what happens is the first few seconds or minutes, most of us get communication. But once you get used to the audience, you speak some more, you tend to relax a bit. So yes, indeed, you can find a spot that makes you comfortable, or people, or a person that makes you comfortable, and focus on that particular person. However, that's just for the beginning. In the process, when you get to the body of your speech, if you only focus on one person, you may tend to lose the rest of the audience. Throw your eyes, like Edwin said, on one side. Try to look the other side, even if you're just looking at the heads. You're only seeing the heads of the people. But try to give the impression that you're not talking to just one person by the use of your gestures, eye contact, the facial expressions that you give. Smile, even if you don't have any reason to smile. You're alive. You have the opportunity to speak, so smile. Focus on the people. Yes, that will help you a little bit. So yes, my answer is, there are times when you can focus, but don't take the whole of your speech just focusing in one particular direction. That would not be good. Okay.
Edwin, what about, I hear a lot about stage presence. Maybe you can tell us something about stage presence, and also my what do you call it? How I present myself, how I look. Is that important if I'm making a speech in front of people?
Yes, it does. How you look, people make first impressions are sometimes the best impressions. So when your first impressions are good, then people become receptive to your message.
Yes.
Even if your message is hostile. Sometimes you have a message that is hostile to the crowd, but which must then be delivered. So yes, the first impressions that they make of you would make them soften to be able to listen to your message. Then again, stage presence. You get stage presence by one, the way you present yourself, the way you dress. Number two is the way you vary your tones. Make sure sometimes you are loud a little bit, then you soften a little bit. You have tonal variation in your presentation. I also said this earlier. Make good use of your stage.
Okay.
Yes. If you have a stage, make good use of it. Up to 95% of that stage is yours to use as a presenter. So when you make good use of this, you have a good way of presenting yourself, and you have tonal variation in your speech. Then yes, you'll be able to connect with your audience.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the whole issue of language? Sometimes I hear speeches and they're filled with all these nice words, but I don't know what they mean, because the speaker is getting into so much vocabulary. I'm thinking, siongea tu kwa lugha ya taifa tusikie, or sometimes I've also seen this, especially with our local celebrities. Where they have an opportunity to address, maybe they have been called to address managers or CEOs because they're about to sign a deal. Lakini, kisungu sio mdomo chake. They're speaking to them like they're speaking to people in the estate. Majama wa mtaa. That's how they're talking. So what's the importance of language, connecting that to understanding your audience? Emily, you want to take that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Language is very important because, like we said, one of the most important things in your speech is the message. What to leave your audience with. It's the message that you have.
Yeah.
So while all these other things, the gestures, the way you deliver, the tone of variation, helps you to get a good delivery, that content which you want to deliver must be structured, you must use good language. Grammar is very important. At Toastmasters and at Kisumu Toastmasters,
Yes.
we have someone called a grammarian.
Hey.
Their work is just to look, yes. Their work is to look at the use of language, good grammar, bad use of language. Are you using quotes? How well is your language? And the other thing that we need to be careful about is, again, using two huge words, semantics. These things that people don't understand. Because then if you understand your audience, and using the example that you gave about celebrities presenting to a formal crowd, and they're using probably street language or language that is not appropriate. Again, that is not right. If you know your audience, prepare your content and deliver it based on your audience. And being able to adjust to the audience makes you a better speaker.
Okay.
Because then if you go to a crowd that requires you to use that language, then it is appropriate to use that language. But if you go to a different crowd, construct your message in a language that they'll understand and keep it simple. We say KISS, KISS.
Yes.
Keep it short and simple. Yes.
One final question, because I'm out of time, and it's to do with feedback. How do I get feedback, and maybe also looking at pastors, because pastors are also public speakers. They speak every Sunday. But one of the things I know for a fact, many pastors are afraid of feedback. We don't give people an opportunity to ask questions or to tell us what they thought about the sermon. So what's the place of feedback, and how do I go about getting feedback?
Feedback is very necessary. Feedback is the champion, is the breakfast of champions.
Yeah.
In Toastmasters, that is what we say.
Okay.
Feedback is absolutely necessary. That is why in Toastmasters, we have people that will give you feedback. There's somebody who will time your speech.
Yes.
How long are you speaking? There's somebody, like Immaculate already said, somebody who will look at the use of grammar, the good use of grammar and language. Somebody will be counting how many times you use interjectors.
Yes.
Well, when you are not very confident and you are not very sure of your subject, then you'll have somebody having so many rules, while they're thinking. So feedback is very necessary. At Kisumu Toastmasters Club, we encourage people to receive feedback and to make good use of the feedback that they have. When you join us at Kisumu Toastmasters Club, you'll be able to improve your public speaking skills. You'll be able to gain self-confidence and self-awareness. Me, for example, I have been able to know who I am in terms of my communication style and my leadership style. At the workplace, you'll get your competitive advantage. You'll enjoy unlimited personal growth. And then all of us have this potential to move forward. So when you join us at Kisumu Toastmasters Club, you'll be able to maximize your potential and build your leadership skills. So yes, to answer your question directly, feedback is absolutely necessary, because all speeches must have what we call take home. Somebody must go home with something from what you say.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have not communicated.
Very true.
The reason we speak is to communicate.
Okay. I'm out of time, but you both of you talked a lot about it is important to have quotes. So what's your quote, your parting shot? A quote. Edwin, what quote can you leave us with before I go to Emily?
I already quoted. I want to say that when you believe that you can, and when you believe that you cannot, in both instances, you are right.
Very good.
When you believe that you can make yourself to be a good public speaker, know that you will make it. You will be a good public speaker. The first point is to believe that you can do it. Be authentic. Those are the words of Henry Ford.
Emily, your quote, parting shot?
My quote, one of the very nice quotes that I love is by Les Brown.
Yes.
There is nothing impossible unless The limitations are just in your mind. So it is you to tune your mind and know that you're capable of doing everything. So if you want to do something, look at the goal and then find out, how do I get there? Yes, I want to get there. It's possible. It can be done. What do I need to get there? And believe that you can get there. And finally, I'd like to say I'm also a Toastmaster. I'm a member of Kisumu Toastmasters Club. I'm the Vice President Public Relations. And indeed, if you want to be a better speaker, Toastmasters is the place to be. You will learn, you will practice, and then you'll just become a very good speaker, if you purpose to do that.
Emily and Edwin, thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Salimieni watu wa Kisumu, and thank you for spending some time with us this morning. Unfortunately, I'm out of time for today. I hope those tips have given you something to think about as you become a better public speaker.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.